What is up, everyone? It is Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at what I think is going to be one of the strongest heroes for a while, and is being underutilized by the majority of the player base right now, and that is Vengeful Spirit mid. No, this is not a meme. I actually think this hero will likely not get nerfed next patch, which I think is coming up soon, and therefore, I think that this hero will become very popular. It's a dominant laner that in certain matchups can do extremely well in last hitting and denying due to its high damage when it gets pointed in its E, and it's a flash farmer, plus it initiates in fights. It's one of the best initiators in Dota, even as a mid laner, which is really cool, and we'll see that in this video. But overall, I wanted to look at one of TOPSON's games, see how he stays the highest net worth, because look at the board here, guys. We have Sumail as their position 1 player, ends the game with 15,000 net worth. The enemy Luna ends the game with 11,000 net worth, and then Vengeful Spirit. You guys might be like, how does Venge farm fast? This hero doesn't have any wave clear, right? Almost 21,000 net worth, and he's 10-3. It's not like he's 30-0, right? This is not some game where he has like 18 kills or 23 kills, right? He's 10, and he's 3 deaths. It does have a lot of assists. All right, let's be fair. He does. He's been super active, but let's show you guys how you can snowball on this hero and why I think it's one of the best mid laners at this current point in the time, and that is not me just saying that. I've played it myself as well in a pub, actually against AOI. It was a fun game. Did end up losing, but I felt like I had a ton of impact just in the lane. Felt good against the puck, and in the mid game, I felt very strong just fighting overall. I really love the fact that when you die, you just have this right-click illusion, but nonetheless, let's get into it. And of course, you guys know the next announcement. I do just want to give you guys a heads up on a couple things. I will be doing another mid guide. Not going to tell you which hero it is yet, but go check it out. I recommend you sign up to the gameleap website so you can get access to that guide when it does come out. And for everyone who is subscribed, keep your eyes out for a mid guide. I've been doing a couple of support things lately. A lot of support video. I done a Windreacher support, Oracle, 2 videos just on laning, like the first 10 minutes, kind of like this type of video for supporting. And I think you're going to enjoy it a ton if you go click the link down below right now and go check it out. Right, so hopping into it, what you're going to want to do early on is take your Wave of Terror at level 1. And the purpose of this is just to help you secure creeps and overall shove in the wave. Being able to shove in the wave as Venge is honestly, I think, your biggest advantage, right? You just can lower the armor of all the creeps you're against, and all of a sudden, it's really hard for people like Invoker who can't do that. They can't push in the lane to lane at all. It's constantly running into them. You can trade better because of it. And against a hero like Invoker who only has 3 armor, all of a sudden, Wave of Terror makes him have 0, and it's really dang hard for him to trade, especially if they run into the creep wave. So upcoming here, I just want to show the first example of TOPSON using Wave of Terror. It really is as simple as anytime you want to secure a creep and it's in basically 2 auto attacks before dying range, you auto attack and then you Wave of Terror, and Wave of Terror does 60 damage. It's a fairly large amount, right? It is actually just 1 auto attack at this stage of the game, and it's very useful for securing any sort of creep. The next thing I would like to talk about is him taking 2 points in Vengeance Aura. I think the reason why this is good is it gives you 7 damage, obviously. Right, it's 7 of your primary attribute, but it also gives you 7 attack speed, and it gives you 75 attack range, which is really important. In the mid lane, if you play Venge and you don't have a lot of attack range, like you do at level 1, against certain heroes you can get bullied out really easily, and because of that you might struggle. However, if you take 2 points in your Vengeance Aura, you're going to have a much better time in a lane, because you don't have to step up as far to secure creeps. On top of that, he's going to be going for Wraith Bands and just overall regen, and this is what you do as Vengeful Spirit. You buy Wraith Bands, you build up a lot of damage, and then, even if you die, you just have the solution that's giga powerful. And that's kind of the main idea behind Venge. You buy stats, you go in, you tank a lot of damage, you deal a lot of damage, and it's really hard for people to deal with you because you essentially always have an Aegis. Upcoming here, we're going to see a really smart play by TOPSON where he shoves in the wave. We're 3 minutes and 33 seconds in here, and because the wave went under his tower, it's now pushing back out, right? So he just pushed in the wave. I'll quickly show you, right? It was under his tower. The wave died very quickly. He used Wave of Terror, meaning the tower is going to absolutely shred it. And now, what does he do in the downtime? Well, Venge is actually really good at jungling. Your hero is quite potent at it. You have high stats and Wave of Terror. And what is he going to do? Use Wave of Terror to drag out the wave. He understands that Invoker is dealing with the creep wave under tower, and now he's going to hit the small creep to start just to make sure, he gets at least 1 creep before going back to the lane. But in this case, he realizes that he has actually enough time to farm the whole camp, as the next wave is also under tower, at least the first portion of it. So upcoming here, we're going to see that TOPSON is getting bullied really hard by Wex Invoker. In fact, Venge can actually lose quite a bit of matchups mid. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, this hero doesn't necessarily hard stomp every matchup. I think it can do well against low MMR players who don't cast their spells, because then you're just kind of right-clicking for more damage than them, as long as you cast Wave of Terror anytime they try to trade. But nonetheless, he gets dropped really low here, right? He's extremely low. on mana and HP, and what does he do? He just heads off to the jungle, and this is the cool thing about Venge, you actually jungle quite effectively, which is what I said before, but I just want to reiterate it again. If you get bullied out of lane, don't be afraid just to eat up your tangos, the extra regen you use, and strictly jungle for a minute or so, especially considering he's always watching the mid lane. If we look at the minimap right now, what TOPSON is paying attention to is basically what Invoker is doing. He wants to see if Invoker pushes in the wave, if Invoker goes to jungle, if Invoker ganks, and if any of these things happen, he can then rotate back to mid and get XP whenever needed. And I can't help but to mention, I mean, this item build is it's pretty funny. I mean, my man is all decked out. He's got like all the stats. He's got 3 Wraith Bands and a Band of Elven skin, which is going to later build into his treads. And as you can see, he's just basically taking stacks at this point. It isn't for neutral items, right? We're only at 640 here, but as I said, your hero jungles fast, you just want to get levels, and they more so pick this Venge to stomp the mid game, which is really what I want you guys to see. You're honestly going to be surprised about how much Venge just contributes in the mid game without really having to do much. And that's my favorite part about this hero. It's not necessarily these first 10 minutes, not like, wow, you farm so fast, it's incredible. He hits 47 CS at 7 minutes, like by no means is this slow. But just keep in mind, the mid game is what gets spicy, and let's start heading towards it. And briefly, before we do get into the mid game, I quickly want to make sure I stress what he does with his skill build. You're going to see he completely skips his stun and skips his ultimate, and he does this in games even when he doesn't necessarily have to jungle. However, I do want to make sure you guys understand that every single game you play Venge, if you're trying to stomp with this hero, I really do recommend you go this exact build and focus on flash farming. Even if you're winning your lane, don't gank the side lanes. I know this might sound crazy, but I really do think this build is potent in solo queue because regardless of if you lose or win your lane, you can have the same game plan every single match. Head into the jungle, Wave of Terror with your treads and Wraith Bands, and completely slash through the camps. It's actually really effective, and it's an easy strategy to use just to make sure you're a really farmed hero that can fight into the mid game, which I think is really cool about Venge. You're a flash farmer that has a pretty early timing. Alright, and now let's get into the next fight. Next thing I want to mention, Wand is still really good on Venge. In fact, I think it's one of the best items on Venge. You just want to be a frontliner for your team, as I said earlier. Your hero, even though you are an agi ranged core, you can kind of just frontline because you don't really care if you die. You're going to respawn, quote unquote, with your Venge aura illusion anyway. But let's get into this fight. So he's currently Mirana ulti, just looking to set up on top of the Invoker, and you're going to see the pure right click damage he does here. He goes for the Wave of Terror onto the Invoker, which actually drops his armor to negative. Yes, the Invoker has negative armor now, which means that every single auto attack that TOPSON puts in is actually pure. Yes, his auto attacks are pure now, and you can really see how much this impacts the damage onto Invoker. On top of that, when Invoker is starting to get away, he's going to auto attack until he's about this distance, right? I would say it's about like 6 heroes. It's kind of a weird way to put it, but then he can swap him back in, and you can do this in any station of the game. You know, maybe there's a Bane gripping your teammate, you could swap him in. Maybe they're trying to push your mid-tier 1 tower, you can swap them under your tower. It really is a super useful ability, even as a core, purely because you don't care about dying. And now let's look at this next fight here. The Weaver's like, I can finish off TOPSON. However, TOPSON had a wand, he has a Fairy Fire, and he has Wave of Terror. And now look at this Weaver. This is a level 1 stun, and Weaver dies to auto attacks. You may ask why. Well, if we go back, it's because Weaver, when he gets Wave of Terror, only has 3 armor. On top of that, Beastmaster gets 10 extra damage, Saksa gets 10 extra damage, and the Venge also gets 10 extra damage, and that's how you can look at this bonus primary attribute. On top of that, it gives Beastmaster and Phoenix currently 200 extra HP, which is pretty dang ridiculous. Now the next thing I want to do is a little bit different, but I just want to quickly go through the list of Dota heroes and give a couple that I think Venge is really good with. As we see within this video, Mirana is clearly pretty good. You just give her bonus attack range and damage, which works with a high attack speed hero. I think you're pretty good with Morphling. You just give him a lot of extra stats and attack range, which benefits him a lot. You're really good with Medusa, right? Let's say you have a Medusa mid. If you give her that bonus attack range, stats, and the ability to swap her out, as well as reducing the armor of everyone around her, you really put in a lot of work. And lastly, because I don't want to give too many examples, but I think these are really, really good, but we have Viper, Weaver, and Nature's Prophet. If you put any of these heroes as your safe laner, and I know it's weird to have like a Viper maybe safe lane or a Prophet safe lane, but I really do think these heroes can be really good in this meta. Maybe you're trying to like stomp a Spectre, right? Maybe they pick a Spectre early on. You say, we just want to run him over. You pick a Venge mid, you pick a Viper safe lane, and all of a sudden, you guys group up, you have infinite attack range, this Viper buys a Dragonlance, and from across the map, no one can get close. No one can get close. You just siege every tower down, and it's a really cool strategy that hopefully I can show you guys in the future. Now, you might ask me the question, speed. how do I fight as Venge, right? This hero is confusing, right? Well, I'm about to give you the entire breakdown. So, he has a lot of green items, which is how you play Venge, just buy a bunch of green items. But let's see how this fight breaks out. So first off, he walks in, he's gonna Wave of Terror, which somehow secures him a last hit onto the Luna. Little snipe. Then he's gonna walk in and go on the Weaver. Now, of course, in this case, he's not gonna stun Weaver. I think it's because he believes that the Weaver can easily dodge the stun with either his ulti or Sikuchi, which I think is a good decision. But nonetheless, he hits the Weaver, does a bunch of damage to him, right? You kind of just hit the first person you see, because you do a lot of damage, and you Wave of Terror them. So that's how you start the fight. Wave of Terror, auto, stun the first person you see, as long as they can't disjoint it. You don't want to throw out a stun at a Puck or a Weaver that can easily disjoint it, or even a Quap that's paying attention. But nonetheless, let's keep going. The next thing he does is he walks up to the next closest hero, which happens to be the Snapfire, and he hits the Snapfire. Then after that, he's going to go for the next closest hero, which happens to be the Treant, who's slightly overextended. Oh, Treant is alone, and my team is all behind me? What can you do? Swap him in, back into the roots, slow down, free kill. And yeah, that's really the cool thing about Venge. It's not that you have to do too much, you just want to constantly be hitting someone. And therefore, don't overthink it. And I know this might sound like the typical speed saying of like, don't overthink it, guys. No, I really do mean that. Do your best not to overthink it. It's the same thing with Wraith King players. Like, when they hit their Radiance timing, they feel like they have to jump to support. It's like, no, sometimes on certain heroes, the best thing you can do is pump out damage so that the first person you hit can't fight anymore. Even if you don't kill them, if you hit them a bunch, they can't really fight. Briefly, let's go over the talents, just so I don't forget in the future. At level 10, you take 12 magic resist. I think this talent's actually really good. As I said, Venge sorta wants to be some sort of a frontliner, so being a bit tankier is good. At level 15, you want to take 12 agi, so you farm faster, do more right click. It's pretty self-explanatory. At level 20, you take 6 Vengeance Aura attributes, and that's just because, once again, you're trying to become a right clicker. If you hit level 25, this one, I think you can go either way. If there happens to be like some Giga Farm Sven, or maybe Terrorblade that is ruining your game, and they have a BKB that's really hard for your team to deal with, sure, you can take the level 25 Pierce's spell immunity. But for the most part, I prefer the other talent, just because even when you're dead, you can still stun people, and you can no joke just solo kill supports, even after you die. It's insane. In fact, let's talk about Dead Venge and see how powerful it is in this next upcoming clip here. So, TOPSON is getting gone on pretty hard. They're committing basically everything on him. He popped his cheese. He's pretty dang tanky with his Butterfly Scotty build that he's farmed up. He even swaps in the Invoker to his team. Unfortunately, they weren't able to catch him, and he's actually overextending a bit here. However, you can tell that he doesn't really care at all about dying. In fact, he just mans up until he dies. I mean, well, the Paladin Sword narrowly kept him alive, but after he dies here, now he has this absurd illusion. And really, I'm not going to say you're just as strong, you're not, but I would say you're still about 50% as strong as your old life. And what you're going to see is he's continuing to right-click them down. He kills off the Invoker with the help of the Sunray and the Beastmaster boards. He secures the kill onto Shad on the Luna. And yeah, what am I supposed to say? This is ridiculous. He died, they committed all of their spells on him, and yet he's still killing them. It's literally a permanent Aegis, except you don't get your spells back. And people forget about you. That's the funniest thing. They kill you, and the people are like, oh, he's dead, we can ignore him. This happened in my last game too. Unfortunately, as I said, we didn't win. But multiple times, they would kill me, they'd forget about me, and I just do a ton of damage in the backline. I would ruin the support's games. They couldn't do anything. And look at this clip here. Honestly, this is where I'm going to end the video, but he's auto-attacking the Invoker, just bullying him a little bit, right? Just you know, doing a tad of damage. He's like, the mid-wave's pushing in, I'll cut the mid-wave. I mean, why not? Just do a little bit of damage to the mid-tower. The illusion doesn't go away until you respawn, just to be clear, or they kill it. And in this case, he has 47 seconds left, so he's like, I guess I'll siege mid. All of a sudden, the mid-tower is about halfway dead. He almost snipes a courier. They're like, oh, we have to deal with this Venge illusion, it's killing our base. And TOPSON's like, no, what do you think you're doing? They try to man up on it, right? And look at this, He backs out of the root, hits the Treant, nearly kills Treant. The Snapfire tries to man up, and he nearly kills the Snapfire, and the Invoker barely can kill him. It's genuinely hilarious how effective that illusion is against supports, and I want you guys to see that. I really do feel like this hero is incredible right now. All you have to make sure you do is do not get caught up in the idea that Venge is some deathball hero that needs to end early. You do not. You scale fine. You should spend the first 10 minutes of the game primarily flash farming, go from camp to camp. If you still can farm the wave, and focus on some really good timings. But thank you guys for watching. Quickly, I'll just mention the item build. I really do think Manta into Scotty or Manta into Butterfly is the way to go. Just get a lot of stats. You can even go Manta into Deso or Manta into Shadowblade if you need a little bit of extra initiation or you feel like minus armor is the way to go. You can make those adaptations. Or you can copy what TOPSON did here, and it will be fine basically every single game. But thank you guys for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general, and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me, but I recommend you sign up to gameleap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It's different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster, because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream. That's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're going to see there, and I hope to see you there right now. So click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.